Hi, I'm Sam, and this is Sam Says. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Star Wars Destiny. Star Wars Destiny is made by Fantasy Flight Games and designed by Lucas Litzinger and Corey Konieczka. That guy that you see on a lot of Fantasy Flight's games whose name that you can't pronounce just like me. So let's see what it has in store for us, and if it is our destiny to like this game or not. Like always, I'm going to start off by giving you a very brief overview of how Star Wars Destiny works. Now, this is not a how to play video. This is simply me telling you a little bit about the game so that you understand what I'm talking about when I refer to certain aspects of the game later on in the video. In Star Wars Destiny, you have main characters and a deck of cards. Your cards include events, upgrades, and attachments. Each player takes one action at a time, going back and forth until one player claims the battlefield and the other player passes, at which point everybody readies all of their characters and supports, collects 2 resources, and draws up to 5 cards. The game continues this way until all of one person's main characters are dead, or until a character has no cards in their deck and no cards in their hand, at which point the game is over. Star Wars Destiny plays very similar to a lot of head-to-head card combat games. Obviously, it has some unique aspects to it, but when you come down to it, you will feel the flow of a normal game. One of the things that I think Star Wars Destiny does better than a lot of those head-to-head card combat games is it is quick in gameplay. Not necessarily a short game as in, 15 or 20 minutes, but more as you are always doing something. So you only take one action on your turn. That's it. One action. An action can be you activate a character, which means you exhaust them and roll their die. You play one card from your hand. You discard a card from your hand to re-roll as many dice as you want. Any number of things. But that's it. You play one card, and then it's your opponent's turn. The nice thing about that is you're not sitting here staring at your opponent, wondering what they're going to do for the next 15 minutes while they're taking their turn. It doesn't play like that. It plays very fast, and I love it. Another unique part of Star Wars Destiny is that this is not a normal head-to-head card combat game because you have dice involved. Now, normally, I try to avoid dice as much as possible. They're an inevitable part of every game, and I love games that include dice, but if I can find a game that doesn't have dice, I'm generally happier playing that game. Now, this is interesting because it's not a one-off, you roll the die, and if it doesn't have the result that you want, you're screwed. You always have the opportunity to re-roll your dice as long as there are cards in your hand. There are also different effects that will allow you to re-roll dice as well, and different die effects that allow you to turn any one of your dice to any side, so you can pick the best possible option for your particular die. There are a lot of ways that they give you to mitigate die rolls, and that is fantastic. Because that's always one of my biggest problems with any game that involves dice is you rolled a 1 and I rolled a 6, so I beat you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I hate that. And this game makes it so that is not as big of a problem. Obviously, you could reroll 6 times and roll the one of the 6 sides that's a blank every single time, and that's just bad luck. You can have that type of bad luck in any game. It is accentuated with dice. But this game gives you a lot of ways to mitigate that and solve that problem that you do have with dice. One of the things about this game is it is a collectible card game, like I mentioned earlier. And that made me very hesitant going in, because I don't like the collectible nature of a card game. Living card games are okay because I know what I'm buying, but I don't like going in and throwing down a couple of dollars on something I don't know what I'm going to get. It bothers me. I know a lot of people like that, and this system of a game has had a lot of success in the past. Personally, not my thing. As I said earlier, I played Destiny, and I loved it enough that I went and suckered up and bought not just a couple of packs, I bought a box. I bought a whole stupid box. I'm suckered in because I'm going to keep buying boxes because I enjoy the game. Now, maybe I'll only buy boxes for this cycle and then play the game as is, because I think there will be a lot of replayability with all of the characters and the events and upgrades, and give you a ton of customization options. When Fantasy Flight first started to announce things about this game, One thing that turned me off in a major way, besides the collectible nature, were the dice. First of all, I mentioned I don't like dice to begin with, but then I looked at the pictures that they had of the dice, and they looked awful. Just bad. And so that's what I expected going in. And when I stopped by the Fantasy Flight Games booth and I looked at the dice that they had, they blew me away. These dice are nice. Don't be fooled by the pictures. I see a lot of people posting that have not seen the game that say, oh, I don't want to get that because the dice look bad. And I agreed with you until I saw them. They're not bad. They're nice. They are screen printed with these images. Every image of the die is the same image, or every side of the die is the same image, which is the same image that's on the card that it corresponds with. So it makes it a little bit easier in finding the die that you need in the massive pile of dice that you have. As you can see, I have a lot of dice. I bought one whole pack, which gave me 36 dice because there are 36 packs, plus the 9 dice from each starter set, the Kylo set and the Rey set. So you do have a couple of sets you can buy right at the beginning that will give you enough that you can play, I would say, an abbreviated game. And I probably played with only the starter sets 10 to 15 times, and I had fun. I will say near the end of those plays, I started to get bored because there just wasn't a lot of variability, and I had played the same decks over and over and over. Now I have gone through and I've built decks, and there are going to be so many plays in this game before I get bored. So many. And then when I get bored, I'll build new decks, and I'll have so much more fun and continue to have so much replayability that it's great. Also, you never know if you're going to come in and play an opponent that you don't know very well or has gone in and built their own decks and you're not just playing with your own set. You have no idea what cards they have or what deck they've built. They may introduce an entirely new strategy to you that you hadn't thought about, which was, wow, I didn't even think about that. I will say with the cards that I currently have, the strategy of decking someone is not very feasible. I don't have a lot of cards that are very good for that. I know one of the characters that you can get who is a legendary card is Darth Vader, who every time he activates, he forces his opponent to discard a card. I think Jabba the Hutt is pretty good at that as well. So if I got those characters, I can guarantee you I'm going to build a deck centered around trying to deck my opponent, which I think would be fun, even more than just killing them, which is also fun. Okay, so let's get down to it. What worked? What didn't work? Let's start with what didn't work. I've mentioned this several times. My least favorite part of this game has absolutely nothing to do with the gameplay. I think the gameplay in this game is solid. I hate the collectible nature of it. I really do. For me, I see it as a money grab. I know some people get excited about getting random cards that, they don't know what they're going to get. But for me, I'm a completionist. I like knowing what I'm going to buy and not sinking a ton of money into a game and never getting, let's say, Darth Vader, who I mentioned. I really want Vader. I would love to build a Vader deck use strategy. That would be great. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get him unless I go onto a certain website and, spend $20 for one card with one die, which to me is ridiculous. I would rather go out and buy an entirely new game. That's my least favorite part. That, for me, is what didn't work. So then what worked? What was my favorite part of this game? And I will say, this does have a lot of similar aspects to a lot of head-to-head card combat games. The main thing that separates it is the dice. That is not my favorite thing. That's not what worked for me. For me, what worked was the way that they structured the cards, as far as which cards come with dice, which cards don't, as well as how you play with one action versus one action versus one action. One of the things that bogs down turns is when I play with some of my friends who don't necessarily have analysis paralysis, but they can just take a little bit longer. It gets boring when you're playing head-to-head. But this, where it's one action to one action, it goes by fast and it makes the gameplay fun. So that's it. That's Star Wars Destiny. I tried to keep this video pretty short. It's fun. I mean, if you're okay getting into the collectible nature of it, then I strongly suggest you do. If that's something that's going to bother you, it's not going to get better, and it may not be the game for you. For me, I found that I'm going to enjoy it a lot more because I got a lot of my friends into it. So we are all going to be buying packs, and then we can trade for cards that maybe my friend got 2 Darth Vaders and I didn't get any. We could swap around a little bit and trade cards. And I think that's going to be where this game will shine, is if you get a group of people who will buy together and give Fantasy Flight all of their precious money. Just all of it. Say goodbye, paycheck, because Star Wars Destiny has arrived. And that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have a game that you would like for me to review, please let me know, and I'll be happy to take a look at it for you. As always, this is Sam Says, and I'm Sam. Have a good rest of your day.